The text arrived while I was standing in line for coffee, my phone buzzing once, sharp and final. We're locked in for New Year's at Vail. No extra space this year. It was from my brother. Matthew, no greeting, no apology, just a closed door wrapped in logistics. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, then typed back a single word. Okay. That was it. No follow-up, no explanation. I paid for my coffee, stepped aside, and told myself I was fine. I had learned to do that well, before I even took the first sip. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification, not a message. My mother had posted on Facebook. I didn't open it right away. I already knew what it would be. I always did. When I finally tapped the screen, there it was. A long table, snow framed in the windows, my parents at the center, Matthew and his wife on one side, cousins on the other. Everyone smiling like this was proof of something. At the far end of the table sat an empty chair, not pushed in, not hidden, just there. The caption read, "Starting the year with our whole world." That was the moment it landed, not the text, not the exclusion, the lie. Right after that, let me be clear about one thing. The story in the video is a creative work by Revenge Pulse. All characters and events are fictional, crafted to convey a humanistic message and the values of family. Still, the feeling was real enough. My phone started to light up with reactions, hearts, fireworks, comments from relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years. Someone wrote, "So blessed." Another added, "Beautiful family." I locked my screen and slid the phone into my bag. An hour later, Matthew called. "Don't make this into something," he said without saying hello. His voice carried that familiar warning, the one that always meant I was already in trouble. "I'm not," I said. "Good," he replied, "because Mom's sensitive right now." I smiled to myself. Sensitive. That was what they called it when I was expected to disappear quietly. I said, "Okay." I reminded him. He exhaled, relieved. "See, I knew you'd understand." The call ended there. No invitation, no explanation, just relief that I hadn't disrupted the image. I sat at my desk afterward, staring at a blank document, unable to focus. If this feels familiar to you, if you've ever learned to make yourself smaller so other people could feel comfortable, stay with me. What happened next didn't start with anger. It started with silence. I used to think the first time was an accident. I was 21 when my parents booked a winter trip to Whistler and told me the cabin only slept 6. "We assumed you wouldn't want to come," my mother said over the phone. Her tone was gentle, practiced. "You're busy with work anyway." I remember standing in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, nodding even though she couldn't see me. "It's fine," I said. I meant, I can survive this. The year after that was Napa. My brother Matthew mentioned it casually at dinner, swirling his wine. "It's a couples thing," he said, smiling like that explained everything. His wife laughed and added, "We'll bring you back something." They brought back a magnet. Jackson Hole came next, then a lake house near Tahoe, then another ski lodge, another anniversary weekend, another holiday with the same soft explanations stacked neatly on top of each other. There wasn't an extra room. "We didn't think you'd enjoy it. It was last minute." Every excuse landed with the same quiet thud. By the 4th year, I stopped asking. By the 6th, I stopped reacting. I learned to adjust my expectations downward until they no longer bruised. Once, at a family barbecue, I mentioned taking time off around the holidays. Matthew looked up from the grill and said, "Oh, we already made plans." He didn't say without you. He didn't have to. My father overheard and cleared his throat. "You know how these things work." He said, "It's not personal." That sentence followed me for years. At 27, I tried once more. I asked directly, calmly, like an adult requesting clarity. "Do you not want me there?" I said to my mother. There was a pause, not a long one, just long enough to tell me the answer existed. "We love you," she said. "Why would you even think that Matthew texted me later that night? You made Mom upset. You didn't need to push. That was the last time I brought it up. After that, I smiled in group photos I wasn't in. I liked posts I wasn't part of. I learned how to disappear without leaving a mark. By the time the Vale text arrived, I didn't feel shocked. I felt confirmed. Ben Alvarez never asked what happened between me and my parents. He just texted, "Dinner Sunday. Come if you want." No pressure. There was no follow-up if I didn't reply. No disappointment baked into the invitation. Ben was my mother's cousin, though she rarely mentioned him. Different priorities. She used to say, which in our family meant someone who didn't follow the script. He ran a small electrical business in Fremont. His hands were always nicked. His truck always smelled like coffee and sawdust. His wife, Rosa, greeted people like she had been waiting for them all day. The first Sunday I showed up, I apologized for being late. Ben waved it off. "You made it," he said. "That's the part that matters." Rosa handed me a plate before I even sat down. "Eat," she said. "You look like you forgot this was allowed." Their daughter Isabel leaned across the table and asked, "Are you staying for dessert or disappearing again?" Ben raised an eyebrow at her. "Easy," he said, then looked at me. "You can leave whenever you want. Or not." I stayed. Those dinners became the only place where I wasn't explaining myself. Nobody asked why my parents weren't around. Nobody asked why I didn't talk about holidays. If I was quiet, Rosa filled the silence. If I talked too much, Ben listened like it mattered. When I finished my master's degree, I told my parents the ceremony date 3 months in advance. My mother said she'd check flights. My father said work was hectic. Matthew said, "We'll see." They didn't come. Ben did. He showed up with Rosa and Isabel, holding a paper bag that smelled like food. "Graduations are long," he said. "You'll want this after my name was called." I found them standing by the rail. Isabel jumped up and down when she saw me. "You did it," she said, loud enough for people to turn. Ben hugged me, firm and unhurried. "You don't disappear just because someone looks away," he said into my hair. I didn't cry then. I waited until later. In my car, when my phone buzzed with a text from Matthew. "Sorry we couldn't make it. Things got busy." I didn't reply. That night, Rosa wrapped leftovers for me and said, "Come back next week." Not as a favor, not as an obligation, as if I already belonged. The bonus email came in on a Tuesday morning, buried between meeting invites and revision notes. $18,700. It said, performance-based, effective immediately. I read it twice, not because I didn't understand, but because I wasn't sure what to do with it. For years, extra money had gone straight into savings, into safety, into preparation for things going wrong. This time, I closed my laptop and sat there, hands flat on the desk. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Matthew. I didn't tell anyone who might ask how I planned to use it. That afternoon, I opened a booking site and filtered for Lake Tahoe. 4 bedrooms, available over New Year's. The number made my chest tighten. I stared at the screen long enough to talk myself out of it, then clicked reserve before the doubt finished forming. The confirmation email felt unreal, like I had stepped into a life I wasn't supposed to touch. I called Ben from the parking lot. "Clear your calendar for New Year's," I said. No questions. He laughed. "That's not how invitations work." "It is this one," I said. "Can you come?" There was a pause, then the sound of Rosa in the background. "Who's that?" she asked. "Sophie," Ben said. "She's kidnapping us." Rosa took the phone. "Where are we going, Lake Tahoe?" Another pause, shorter this time. "We're in," she said. "Isabel's going to lose her mind." I didn't explain why. I didn't justify it. I just sent them the details and closed the app. That night, my mother texted a photo of snow from Vale. "It's beautiful here." I looked at the message, then at the cabin confirmation on my screen. For the first time, I didn't feel left out. I felt chosen. The video found me on the second morning in Tahoe. I wasn't looking for it. Ben was pouring coffee. Rosa was arguing with Isabel about gloves, and my phone was face down on the counter when it started vibrating nonstop. I picked it up, expecting work. It was a message from my cousin's son, Julian. No text, just a link. I opened it. The clip was short. A dining table in Vale. My parents at the center. Matthew laughing at something off camera. Then the phone panned slowly to the far end, where an empty chair sat slightly apart from the rest. Text appeared over the video. Some traditions don't include everyone. The comments were already multiplying. Why is there always one chair like that? This feels familiar. My family does this too. I watched the view count climb from 60,000 to 100,000 while Isabel tugged on my sleeve. "Aunt Sophie," she said, "are you coming outside?" "Give me a minute," I said, locking the screen. The minute stretched into an hour. By the time we came back inside, my phone was buzzing again. This time it was Matthew. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was tight, clipped. "This is getting out of hand. People are tagging me. You need to explain what's going on. Explain." Like this had started with me. I still didn't respond. Later that afternoon, a coworker messaged me privately. "Hey, just checking in. There's something going around." She didn't send the link. She didn't have to. What she didn't know was what happened next. A junior sales associate at Matthew's company shared the video in an internal Slack channel. Someone added a caption beneath it. "Is this what you meant when you said family stuff was distracting you last quarter?" That was when Matthew called again. "You didn't post this, did you?" he asked. Skipping hello. "No," I said. "But you're letting it happen." "I didn't make the video," I repeated. He exhaled sharply. "You always do this. You stay quiet and let everyone assume the worst." I looked at Ben across the room. He was watching me carefully, saying nothing. I stayed quiet for 11 years. I said, "This isn't that." Matthew hung up without another word. That evening, Rosa set her phone down gently. "You don't have to carry this alone," she said. I nodded, but the truth was already settling in. The chair had always been empty. People were just finally seeing it. The email arrived the morning after the video crossed 500,000 views. It wasn't dramatic. No accusations in bold. Just a subject line that made my stomach drop. Request for a brief conversation. It was from Human Resources. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. The message was polite, almost apologetic. They had received a concern from a third party. It referenced potential reputation impact and external online attention. They wanted to understand if anything in my personal life might intersect with my role at the company. I called Ben. "They contacted work," I said. He didn't ask who. "What did they say?" "Nothing yet," I replied. That's the problem. Matthew called while I was still holding the phone. "What did Priya do?" I asked the moment I answered. He didn't deny it. She was trying to protect us. By emailing my employer, she didn't say she was family. I laughed, once. Sharp. So she lied. She raised concerns. He corrected. "You could have stopped this if you'd just explained." "I explained for 11 years. I said. "You just didn't like the explanation." There was silence on the line. Then his voice dropped. "This is affecting my job." "That's interesting," I said quietly. It never mattered when it was affecting my life. He hung up. The HR meeting was scheduled for the afternoon. I sat at my desk, hands steady, answering emails like everything was normal. My manager stopped by once and asked if I was okay. "I'm fine," I said. It was true. In a way I hadn't expected. HR didn't accuse me of anything. They asked questions. Where had the video come from? Had I shared it? Was there any risk of escalation? I answered honestly. I gave dates. I stayed factual. At the end, The representative folded her hands. "For now, this will be documented as informational only," she said. "But if there's further interference, let us know." Interference. That was the word. That evening. My phone buzzed with a message from Priya. "We're just trying to clean this up. You don't have to make this harder." I didn't respond. Ben set a mug down in front of me. "They crossed a line," he said. "Once they involve your work, it's no longer family." I nodded, staring at the screen. The story had changed. So had the stakes. My father was waiting in the lobby when I arrived at work. He stood near the reception desk, hands folded around a red envelope like it was something fragile. The security guard glanced at him, then at me. I nodded to show I had it. "This isn't a good time," I said, keeping my voice even. "We need to end this," my father replied. "Today." He held out the envelope. Inside was a printed statement. I recognized my mother's phrasing immediately. Soft at the start, firm in the middle, final at the end. It apologized for misunderstandings. It took responsibility for unintentional hurt. It promised to move forward as a united family. At the bottom was a blank line for my signature. A note in the margin read, "Post publicly, LinkedIn and Facebook. This fixes it." My father said, "People will stop talking." I didn't start the talking. I said. He leaned closer. "You let it happen." I looked past him at the receptionist, who was pretending not to listen. "You brought this here." I said. "To my job. You embarrassed your mother," he said. "Matthew's under review. Priya's clients are nervous. Do you have any idea what this looks like?" "Yes," I said. "It looks like you're asking me to disappear again." His jaw tightened. "Don't dramatize this. I'm not," I said. "I'm naming it." He raised his voice, just enough to carry. "Sign it. We put this behind us." I folded the paper carefully, then tore it down the center. The sound was quiet, but it landed hard. I dropped the pieces into the trash beside the desk. The receptionist stood up. "Sir, I need to ask you to leave." My father stared at me like he didn't recognize me. "You'll regret this," he said. "Maybe." I replied, "But not today." Security arrived before he could say more. As they escorted him out, he kept looking back, waiting for me to stop them. I didn't. Upstairs, Human Resources met me at my desk. They documented everything. They asked if I felt safe. I said yes. It was the truth. Ben called while I was still in the conference room. "He came to your office," he said. It wasn't a question. He did. There was a pause. Then his voice softened. "I'm proud of you." That night, my phone filled with messages I didn't open. Matthew, Priya, my mother. I powered it off. For the first time, the silence felt like something I had chosen. I had enough proof to end it. Emails, messages, dates written down in old planners, screenshots of holidays I was told were full, followed by photos that proved they weren't. I spread them across my kitchen table that night, lining them up like exhibits. Ben watched from the doorway. "You could send this," he said. "People would understand." "I know," I said. He didn't push. He never did. He just pulled out a chair and sat with me while I stared at the pile. "If I share it," I said, "they become the story. And if you don't, I stay the problem." I replied. Ben shook his head slowly. "No. You stay free." The next morning, HR emailed to confirm the incident with my father had been formally documented. They asked if I wanted to add anything to the record. I typed a response, deleted it, then typed a single line. This was a personal matter that crossed into my workplace without my consent. I hit send. Matthew left a voicemail that afternoon. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. "You didn't have to go that far," he said. "Dad's humiliated." I didn't call back. Rosa texted later. "Dinner's ready if you need somewhere quiet." I went. Isabel slid a drawing across the table toward me. It showed a long table with every chair filled. She had drawn my name at one end. Ben looked at it, then at me. "See," he said, "you were never asking for too much." I folded the drawing carefully and put it in my bag. Some victories don't need witnesses. They just need to last. A year passed without a single family holiday invite. The silence didn't collapse my life the way they had always warned it would. It clarified it. In March, my manager closed the conference room door and slid a folder across the table. "We're promoting you to Director of Brand Strategy," she said. "You handled pressure this year with more composure than anyone I've seen." I nodded once. Thank you. No speech. No victory lap. Just work that finally spoke for itself. Matthew texted me 2 weeks later. "My bonus got deferred. They said I need to focus on boundaries." I didn't reply. Priya tried once, too. A long message about stress, misunderstandings, how things spiraled. I read it, then archived it without answering. By December, I was back in Lake Tahoe, a smaller cabin this time. No 4 bedrooms, no statement to make. Ben arrived first. Carrying groceries like this was normal. Rosa followed, already asking where the cutting board was. Isabel ran ahead of them, dropped her bag, and stopped short when she saw the table. "You left a chair open," she said. "For anyone who shows up." I told her. That night, as we set the plates, my phone rang. My mother's name lit the screen. I stepped into the other room to answer. "Sophie," she said. Her voice sounded careful. "Are you happy?" I looked back at the table. Ben was teasing Isabel about homework. Rosa was pouring drinks. No one was performing. No one was bracing. "Yes," I said. "I am." There was a pause. "You don't need us anymore," she said. "I never needed permission." I replied, "I needed room." She didn't argue. She didn't apologize. She just said goodbye. When I returned, Ben glanced up. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said, and meant it. At midnight, we clinked glasses. Isabel insisted on a countdown even though we were early. Rosa laughed and went along with it anyway. Ben raised his glass. "Last, to the family we choose," he said. I looked around at the full table. Every chair occupied. No one pretending. No one shrinking. If you've ever watched your name disappear from plans, if you've ever been told to stay quiet so others could stay comfortable, stay with this story a little longer. Sometimes the ending doesn't come with applause. Sometimes it comes with peace. I pulled my chair closer to the table and stayed.